From high atop the world headquarters of Southeastern Fly, this is the Southeastern Fly Podcast. Thanks for joining us on this episode. Feel free to share it with your friends and your fishing partners. Also, as you probably have heard, you can now watch this on YouTube. So go ahead and give us a follow there. Everywhere else, just leave a like, click a follow. That'd be awesome. I want to go ahead and give a disclaimer for this particular episode. Here's the disclaimer. If you are a gear junkie, do not let your spouse listen to this episode. I repeat, if you are a gear junkie, do not let your spouse listen to this episode. You will regret it. Also, if they do happen to see it, just tell them, remember, it's not always about what you want, about what you need. Sometimes it's about what you want. So let's go ahead and jump in here. I don't have this in any particular order. I think whatever comes to mind is what we're going to talk about today. So I'll probably miss some stuff and maybe even add some stuff that I don't need to. But anyway, you're going to get the gist of it. This comes from being in the boat with several new anglers over the past couple of weeks, and some folks that have never held a fly rod till they stood on the boat in the casting braces, which is pretty good. Also, this has actually come up with some very seasoned anglers, and that was more of just a discussion between them and I than it was me trying to say, hey, you need this, this, and this. It was a discussion a couple different times. I didn't even bring it up, which is really kind of strange that, I don't know. There's a lot of time in a boat, so there's a lot of subjects to come up during that time. So anyway, maybe it's a good one for discussion for you to have with your friends, your fishing partners, and that sort of thing. If you're a newbie, this is going to be good for you because you'll quickly realize that you don't have to have every trinket in the catalog. Some of them are really cool to have, and I've got a lot of them, had a lot of them. So I don't know. I don't think it's quite a big a deal as what we're led to believe it is. So let's start off. I think I'm going to start by talking about flies. We'll start on the fly end. How about we do that? So what flies do I need? You only really need a few good patterns, and those patterns need to be patterns that work and work well. You need a few nymph patterns. You need a few dry fly patterns. You need a few streamer patterns. Dry fly patterns, I also include terrestrials in there because I like for them to float. You need each of those in different sizes. Like I don't know, I just filled up 2 minutes ago, I just filled up a fly box with a whole bunch of midges, which have beads. They're considered nymphs as far as I'm concerned. What I need to be doing is tying up some floating nymphs that just float in the film, but I'm going to do that later. But find a few good ones that work. A few, and let's just take nymphs for instance. Find a few nymph patterns that works, and buy a few in whatever sizes you think you need. You don't have to go, oh, okay, I need 20s, 18s, 16s, 14s, and 12s. You might go, okay, maybe I need some 20s. I might skip 18s. I might go to 16s, and I may end up at 10 or 12s. You don't have to have every single size because fish, I mean, frankly, you're not going to probably match the hatch, whatever it is exactly anyway, because they're not all exactly the same size. So if you're off, one size, I don't think that fish really care. Again, I'll go back to, I think they care about presentations. So buy some nymph patterns that work. Not everyone in the bin at the fly shop. You don't have to have every single one. I like to look for the ones, ask them when they last filled up the fly bins, and then look around and see what's low, and then have a discussion about the ones that are low. Don't just buy them because they're low. Have a discussion about them, how to use them, if the better anglers are buying them, and that sort of thing. Get intel because you're fixing to spend some money. You want to spend that money once. You don't want to have to come back 2 and 3 and 4 times to get the right patterns. So a few nymphs, a few dries, a few streamer patterns. Not all exactly the same. And like I said, in different sizes. The big thing on flies is learn how to fish them. That's the big thing. Not only learn how to fish them and learn what they do and what they don't do, learn how to fish them well. Spend that time on the water, as much time as you can get on the water. I can't stress that enough. So that's kind of a simplistic look at how we are how a lot of people, more seasoned anglers, are looking at their fly boxes and saying, wait a minute, I don't know that I need all these. Don't be afraid to explore and go a little bit outside of your comfort zone, but the basics are get some fly some fly patterns that work, and then go different sizes in them and really focus and learn how to fish them and learn how to fish them well. Now let's talk about knots. We're going to move on because what do you need to tie a fly to a tippet? A knots. Your knots, 3 or 4 knots is all you need to know. Get lots of questions on knots. You know, what knot do you use? What is this? What is that? What do you think I should use? Well, there's plenty of resources online that you can use. Phone a friend if you got a good friend that's a pretty good angler. Ask them what kind of knots they recommend. Uh, practice, practice, practice on your knots. Once you figure out which one you like and which way is easy to tie, uh, practice that. Don't try to save tippet. Buy buy a reasonably good tippet. Practice, and I say I don't know how many times I've told this audience this, but practice your tying and practice your tying of knots. So practice your tying of knots. I cannot stress that enough. Was that 3 times I've said that? Um, Practice that. Get good at it. You should be able to. I use 3 or 4 knots is all I use. I can tie them in the dark if I need to. I use a nail knot. Got a nail knot tool. Double surgeon's knot. I use a double surgeon's knot every day, all day, several times a day. If I'm in the salt, I use a triple surgeon's. A surgeon's loop if I'm tying or fishing streamers and that sort of thing. I'll use a surgeon's loop. Why? Because I'm pretty good at it. Probably easier for me to tie that loop than it is a lot of the other loops that are easier for other people to tie, because I've really been using that knot for, gosh, I can't tell you how long I've been using a surgeon's loop. And then for tying on nymphs and dries, I use, some people call it a pop knot. It just and you can look up pop knot. There's probably a couple videos out there. There aren't a lot. I don't know what it's called, something else. I can never recall it and can't recall it now. But pop knot it's called that because whenever you tie it and after you wet the line and you start to pull it down, once it's, you can feel it and you can actually almost hear it pop into place. And when it pops into place, you know it's seated and it's tight. Then you can just cut off your excess and you're ready to go. And I usually bite off the excess because it leaves a little bit of a ridge there on the tippet, which my dentist friends do not recommend. Apparently, that's not a great idea, but hey, I'll pay those dues down the road. It really doesn't matter which knots you choose. You just have to be good at them. You've got to be really good at them. So moving on, what else do I need? Excuse me. The gear I need, a net. You need a net. Number one, they look cool. You look like a fly fisherman if you got a net. But nets are also very optimistic. I mean, if you take your net to the river, you're pretty much saying, "Hey, I'm probably going to catch a fish." Excuse me, and I'll need that fish to I'll need that net to catch that fish. Now, I'm not talking about an old-fashioned string net for the or string for the netting and that sort of thing. You know, those were really cool back in the day. Now, not so much. Get a good one. Get one that's easy to carry, easy to reach. You might want to get one of those little net magnet things or something like that. Fit it in your backpack. Put it right beside you in the boat, somewhere where you can get to it quick. If you're waiting, you have one on you. The back is a really good place, but I've also seen the back where someone will put it kind of between their back and their backpack. It kind of sticks up in their way when they're casting. I've seen that a couple of times. That's why I like to hang mine from the very back. If we're out in Colorado fishing in the streams out there, the small streams, I'll take one with me, and my net hangs with the net part up and handled down so that I can reach right around, grab it, and scoop up the fish kind of in one motion. If I did that more, it'd be one motion. Now I'll probably fumble around like an idiot, but still, eventually I'll get it down there to the fish. So it doesn't need to be intrusive to your casting or your presentation hand. So remember that. But that's about it for net. Just get a good net. easy to carry, easy to reach. I prefer the white clear plastic netting. That's I can't remember. I don't know what it's made out of. It's rubberish. And it's white. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If you're brand new, just open up any net catalog and you'll see what I'm talking about. So let's move on. Nippers, scissors, and forceps. All of them, or a lot of them, have a hook eye cleaner. So there are a ton of options here. So let's start with nippers, or some people go as cheap as nail clippers from the drugstore, and then some people go to $100 nippers from some of the major companies. Now, those $100 ones look good. They supposedly last longer. I don't know. Usually it has a logo on it, comes in cool colors. Really, it doesn't do too much more than what a cheap pair of nippers would do, but they may be they're probably a little sharper, which is nice. And they probably have that hook eye cleaner on it, which is really nice. So I can clean the whatever. I buy flies, tie flies. Eventually, you're going to come into something that has the eye is going to be constricted, so you'll need something to pop that usually it's glue, pop that out of there, or even push back some of the thread and material sometimes when somebody ties it a little too far up into the eye. So doesn't really help you catch more fish. People hang those off of there, and we're going to get into hanging stuff off of you. They'll hang those off of their fanny packs and off of their sling packs and off of their all that stuff they're hanging around there clinking and clanking, which is good for if you've got bears in the area. They don't like clinking and clanking. But yeah, so there's a couple of things there that you could do. Let's move on to forceps. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of different forceps. So they can hang on to stuff pretty good. So if you're tying knots with your tippet, a lot of folks will use their forceps to do that. Knots to flies, a lot of folks will use their forceps to do that. Forceps will grab just about anything small. And of course, they do work great for unhooking fish. The fish that you just hopefully landed in your net, you can go ahead and just flip them off there. You don't even really have to touch the fish. You just pull on the line, run the forceps down, get to the fly, little clink of the net of the wrist, and you're in. So don't go cheap drugstore here on forceps. And don't go to a nurse or a doctor that you know and say, hey, can you get me some forceps? Because the ones that they're going to get you are likely very flimsy, and a lot of times you'll do damage to the fish with the fish's mouth because they're slipping around and that sort of thing, and they can't clamp down quite hard enough. So get some good ones if you're going to get some. I prefer short handle ones because they get hung up on a little less stuff. But that's just me. So get the ones that you like. I like to get the black ones if I can, but let me tell you something. If you lay them down in the boat and it's 90 degrees outside, you are quickly going to reach over the edge and put them in the water to cool them down because you could barely touch them. So consider that. Scissors, I like to have scissors, and we're going somewhere with this, so stick with me. I like to have scissors in place of nippers, believe it or not. They'll cut just about any tippet, any size tippet, big or small. They help to cut clothes whenever you're stuck, whenever your hook's really stuck in in your clothing, like a shirt or something. If you have to cut easily around the hook to get it out of there, they can do that. They'll also open packs of just about anything from indicators to tippets to beef jerky. I mean, you can get a lot of stuff, use them for a lot of stuff. So scissors are great to have around on the boat. And you can trim down flies. I've trimmed down foam. I've trimmed down marabou, trimmed down wings, all kinds of stuff with them. So with scissors. So keep that in mind. You might want to get you some scissors. I prefer an all-in-one tool. So remember I said that my scissors kind of take place of the nail nippers. I've got an all-in-one tool. It has nippers, forceps, or scissors, forceps, a hook eye cleaner, and what you would use for clippers or nippers. So I prefer those just because there I've got one thing to keep up with. Even in the boat, I don't like to have to keep up with stuff in the boat. But if I'm waiting, I sure don't like to keep up with a bunch of things because your fly line's flipping around, and if you got three things to get for it to get hung up on, fly line's probably going to get hung up on three things. It's crazy how easy it is for that stuff to grab fly line, tangle it around. I don't know how it does it. I don't know, but if you've got less to keep up with and less to get tangled on, you're going to be able to spend more time with your fly in the water. And I've never caught, well, maybe once I've caught a fish with the fly not in the water. It's a story for another time. If you're saltwater, by all means, you're going to want to go heavier. So they've got those real cool pliers with everything all in one tool in them, and that's pretty cool. But I think you can get away with a pair of forceps with a hook eye cleaner and some scissors in it. So let's move on to good rods, reels, and fly lines. So you need a good rod. Rods cast better than you do. There might be 2% of the people out there listening that even the cheap rods that they can get all out of a cheap rod that a cheap rod has in it. But I would have to watch them. Uh, the rods nowadays, you get one with a warranty, it's going to be a pretty good rod. And it's probably going to cast a lot better than we do. Reels, a good reel. I like shiny reels. That's just me. I don't know why. I have no idea. I guess like I say, I'm a crow. I'm like a crow. I like shiny things. But when it comes right down to it, your reel is there to hold line. Um, and one question that we get, what about whenever the fish gets on the reel? Don't you want a good drag? Yes, you might need a good drag. I caught a reasonably good fish the other day myself. Didn't get it on the reel. Uh, didn't even really think about getting it on the reel, to be honest with you. There was fly line, at my feet and all that, but I didn't need the reel. We've been going down and fishing redfish over the past several years down in Louisiana, some of the bigger redfish. It's fun to get those on the reel, but now I'm starting to figure out that, oh, I can just hand line them in, get them in, snap a picture, get them back out before they're too winded or exhausted. So a reel, I just like them to look cool. But you don't have to have the most expensive reel out there with the greatest drag and all that stuff. But hey, if you want that, great. But this is about what you need, not about what you want. As far as what this podcast goes. Hopefully, your spouse hasn't listened down to here. But if they have, everybody kind of does things a little different. But you don't have to have the most expensive reel. What you do need is excellent line. So line is key. The most expensive fly line isn't always the best fly line. I see fly lines all week long, different fly lines. I got this such and such. This is brand new such and such. We had a brand new fly line on the boat the other day that a guy went and bought 2 weeks before he took his trip. He didn't fish it at all. He's like, "This is brand new." And I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, who tied this? Who tied this loop on there?" He said, "The fly shop tied the loop on. A loop to loop knot for your back for your leader." He he said, "Yeah, they tied that loop on for me and everything." Well, and he gave it kind of one of those little jerks, like, "Hey, check this out." And it immediately started biting into the fly line on the loop down to the core. And I was like, "Hey, you see this?" He said, "Oh my goodness, what the heck?" I said, "Yeah, it's starting to rub through here already. It's already cut down to the core." So we end up cutting that off. And that's the second or third one I've had like that now that I think about that. Huh. So anyway, we cut that off, did a nail knot. Yeah, I like to never got the nail knot on that one, or frankly, any of those three, because the coating was so soft it wouldn't bite. But anyway, so you want something that's good. It, like I said, doesn't have to be the most expensive because that was extremely expensive. I mean, I've never spent that much on a fly line before. Uh, but anyway, excellent line isn't always the most expensive line. Color doesn't really matter in freshwater. It might in saltwater for tarpon and stuff. You might want some of that clear line, but if you go on the internet right now, you'll find people catching tarpon on colored fly line too. So you might want to phone a friend, see what they say, talk to the fly shop, see what they say. If you're going to talk to the fly shop, going down to the fly shop and cast the line on your rod. So take your rod and put that line on their reel onto your rod and cast that. What you're doing is looking for excellent line, not the most expensive line. If it so happens that the excellent line is the most expensive that particular fly shop has, great. But I think you'll quickly find out that the most expensive line is not always exactly what you need. Um, when you take your old line off, you can go buy a $5 reel or $10 reel somewhere off the internet and stick your old line on that reel and just practice in the yard. Practice is free, so you can don't use your new line for practicing in the yard or on the driveway or wherever you have to practice. Uh, or even if you're just going to practice in a pond, practice with your old line and just get it on an old reel somewhere and put it on there so you can just practice, practice, practice. Because like I said, practice is free. The fly line isn't new fly line isn't something you want to just throw around anywhere. So I don't know if let's see. Tippets. Let's talk tippets, leaders, indicators, floatant, split shop. I don't want to get too far into backing on these things. For instance, a friend of mine has searched for years for the perfect bobber, perfect indicator, perfect bobber. And he's finding out that there isn't a perfect one. There's some new ones out that are really cool, but they don't always work exactly the way that he wants them to work. I don't even really know what he's looking for, but anyway, he's critiqued them all. Let's put it that way. Um, so looking for the perfect bobber, it's going to be hard to find something that you like that'll hold your flies up, that you can detect strikes with. Learn how to fish it if you're going to nymph. Another is floatant. Man, there are all kinds of floatant out there, and that's something else. You can look for the perfect floatant, and you may or may not ever find it. Everybody's got their own little concoction of what they like. I like this, and I put this on there, and this is good. And blah 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 blah. Just find some floatant that you like and use it. Don't try to go out there and compare floatants and that sort of thing. If somebody's got something that works good and they say it works good, you see that it works good, you might want to think about getting that one. Tippet and leader. What you'll want to do with that is just make sure that you get some quality stuff, and you'll want to pull hard on it while you're tying. A lot of times I'll put my hands after I tie the knot. I'll put my hands on the outside of my legs and just pull with my legs and just see, all right, is this stretching or is it breaking? I don't, I don't pull it apart. I don't have 10,000 pounds worth of pulling power there. I'm not a Dodge truck or anything, but just make sure that it doesn't break. If it feels like it breaks easy, toss it. Don't waste your time with it. Just toss it in the garbage right away. We've learned that lesson with a major manufacturer of tippet or seller of tippet, one of the major companies. We lost a 20-inch fish one day, and I had already told a friend of mine, "Hey, your tippet's not looking too hot there, dude. It's breaking off more than is it more and easier than I think it should." And he lost a really nice brown trout that any of us would have been proud to catch, and he would have been proud to catch it too if the tippet would have held. So if it doesn't look like it's good, do some pulling on it, make sure that it's as strong as it should be, whatever tippet that is. We had a discussion last week or sometime last month about 7X. We actually had a discussion in the boat just the other day about 7X. Y'all all know how I feel about that. That's great and all that, but I don't know that you need 7X on everything. But if it feels like it's breaking a little more easier than it should be, toss it. Don't waste your time with it. Um, so that's what you need. Now, here's what will really help you. Spend some more time on the water. You don't have to drive, like our rivers are an hour each way, right? I've got one, two, three that are within an hour, two within an hour, one about an hour and 15 minutes. Uh, and then there's another one about 30 minutes away. And then there's a creek that I've talked about right up the road that still haven't fished this year. There should have already gone to, but I haven't done that yet. That needs to be done. But anyway, spend some time on the water. Go to a local pond, go to to a close river, a lake. If you're by the ocean, by all means, go there, fish the canals, fish creeks, fish it all. Spend time on the water. The more time you can spend on the water, the quicker you're going to accelerate your learning. So, what gear do you need? I just went over all that. Now we're talking about, all right, let's put this into action here. So, fish it all. Fish everything you can anytime you get a chance. For some people, that's every day. For some people, that's once a month. For some people, that's once every 6 months. And for some people, maybe it's once a year. Whatever it is, get as much time on the water as you can possibly get. That's going to accelerate your learning quicker, probably than just about anything. Enjoy yourself. Make some friends in fly fishing. I was going to say in the fly fishing community, but I don't know what zip code that is, so we'll just say make some friends in fly fishing. Uh, don't take yourself or your fishing too serious. Have some fun. Jeez, Louise. Have some fun out there. Get out there, have some fun, make some friends, uh, complain about other people, do all that stuff that we do. But the most important thing about it is enjoy yourself. I had a client this week, and this isn't the first person that said it. This week, we were about 3/4 of the way down the river, and I had just said, we've got about another 2 miles to go. Uh, and he said, you know what? I haven't thought about anything else today, but is that indicator going to go under? That's all he's thought about all day long. Uh, that to me is a successful trip. That to me is a good way to get all this stuff that bombard us, especially this time of year, that bombards us every day, all day, can't get away with it, or can't get away from it. And just watching that fly, watching that indicator, watching that streamer, whatever you're doing, um, it's just a good way to put all that stuff out of your mind and kind of reset and get yourself back together, so that you can go back in and do battle wherever it is you do battle on a day-to-day basis. So that particular guy, he'll be back to fly fish again pretty soon. I already know because he said he was going to when the trip was over. But I think the reason why he did is because he didn't have to think about anything, um, except that indicator that day. So really felt like that was a pretty successful trip. He caught some nice fish too, but didn't catch a ton. But I know what he's saying, because that's kind of what we're there for. My days off, whenever I'm fishing, it's just, hey, I don't want to think about anything. I just want to go out and fish, have a good time with my friends, tell some terrible jokes, especially dad jokes. If I can think of any, which I can usually, we'll hear a bunch of good dad jokes. That's just some of the stuff that we do on the boat. Just spend some time together, have fun. So the gear you need, that's what this was all about. So let's wrap this one up. So feel free to share this one with your friends and your fishing partners. Remember, you can be the first to watch these episodes on YouTube if you just subscribe on YouTube, on our Southeastern Fly YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a follow, but you just listen to the gear you need on Southeastern Fly, and we'll see you next time.